Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our session today, discussing the topic, how to future-proof your career. We will be starting shortly. I can see some people are still joining, so we'll take a minute for everyone to join. I hope you're all feeling great today. And we're coming to the end of the week, so I'm pretty excited. My co-host for today is my colleague, Helen Burns. So Helen will be with me for the entire webinar today, and will be helping with answering some of the questions. And we'll just wait a few minutes, or maybe 1 minute. Helen, do you want to say hi to everyone?
Yeah. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Enjoy today's webinar.
So you will all muted for today's session, but if you have any questions, please type them in the question box, and we will get back to them towards the end of the session. It's lovely to see some of the familiar names: Tariq, Sneha, Huda, Salim, Amar, Mustafa, Marwa, Khalid. Lovely to see you here. And many more. Claudia. So thanks all for joining, and Ali. Thank you all for joining today's session. Today's session is really to get you to start thinking and to prepare you for the future of work, as we realize that a technology revolution is changing the fundamental nature of work across all industries and sectors. And this has been characterized by the fourth industrial revolution, and which is really the convergence of both physical and virtual worlds. So in today's session, we will be talking about how to get ready, or how to get fit for the future, and what does it take for you to stand out in a competitive world? What are the top skills that are going to be sought after by future employers? And what will the new leadership of the future look like? So I can see some more people joining. Give it just a few seconds before we really start. Maybe, Helen, we can launch the first poll question.
Of course.
And this question would really give me an indication of your preparedness for the future. So let's see. Great, so we have 57% prepared to some extent. The numbers are changing. Oh, that's wonderful. So we have 69 prepared to some extent. 6% are prepared, and 28 are not prepared. Okay, still collecting responses. It's wonderful to see that people, are starting to think about the future and, starting to get prepared for it. The majority of you said that you are prepared to some extent, and I would love to see how you are doing that. Maybe you can type it in the question box to see how you're getting ready for the future. And okay, we can close the poll question now. According to the World Economic Forum, we are on the verge of the fourth industrial revolution. And in this world, everything is going to change, from self-driving cars to drones that we have seen across the skies of Dubai, 3D printing, virtual reality, and wearables that track our heart rate, fat loss, and even our mobility. Artificial intelligence and quantum computing, these are no longer sci-fi fantasies of a movie. These are, our reality, and it's our future, and the future is almost here. So we need to get ready for this world of technological advances and breakthroughs, where we will see a rapid shift between the work tasks performed by humans and the work tasks performed by machines and algorithms. And we will also see global labor markets are likely to undergo major transformations. So these transformations, if managed poorly, they're going to pose a risk of widening the skill gap, of greater inequality, and of job loss in the future. And we see many job families have already started to disappear, like the bank teller, the machine worker, the cashier. Call centers have also been replaced by databases, which are really efficient and useful. But if these transformations are managed wisely, then we're going to see greater productivity. We're going to see an age of good work. We're going to see a world which has less bias and greater equality and more room for diversity and inclusion. So this world is going to be a better world if we get prepared for it. The Cognizant Center for Future of Work estimates that approximately 21% or 21 million jobs will be created in the next decade by augmenting human skills. And also, a report by Dell, which is a giant tech, says that 85% of jobs which will be available in the future in 2030 have not been invented yet. So there will be lots for humans to do in the coming years. And here lies the role of every individual, every business, and every organization to act now and to start developing these future skills and to transform themselves and to transform their workplaces. So only these people who act now will thrive. So depending on where you stand today, the future could be really very exciting, or it could be a bit challenging. Let's take a look at recently how the nature of work has transformed quickly due to COVID-19. We had to completely shift the way we do business, working from home, using new technologies for communication. Companies are racing up to meet up with the new demands of technology. And with these transformations of the traditional employment models, we will need to keep abreast of these new developments. And the future is going to be really uncertain. It's going to have turbulent times. This means that your job description could be very different or even irrelevant in the future. So to stay relevant, meaning really to understand these changes before they happen and to respond to them proactively. And some of the things that you can do is start by asking yourself questions. So the first question you can ask yourself is, what will your job look like in 5 years? Will it even exist in 5, 10, or 15 years? And what will happen to your organization or to your industry and the sector that you work for? And these answers will give you an indication of if your skill set is going to really fall behind time, or if you're going to struggle to find work and gain promotion in the future. So understanding these answers and getting prepared for the future will be something that you need to think about now, as industries are going to undergo major transformation and shifts. But before we talk about how to prepare for the future and what are the skills, it's worth considering your own mindset. So let's move to the next slide. So in order to stand out in a competitive world, you need to adopt a growth mindset. And I'm sure most of you would have heard of a growth mindset versus a closed mindset. So a growth mindset is really described, or in other words, is someone who really believes that with effort, perseverance, drive, and hard work, you can overcome obstacles and you can overcome challenges. And therefore, you are able to take responsibility for your own success. So take time to acknowledge how your mindset has really shifted in the recent years, in the recent weeks and months during the COVID situation. So if you've noticed that you managed to adapt quickly to these changes, it's likely that you have done so using a growth mindset. Those with a growth mindset tend to see life or obstacles as an opportunity and act really quickly in order to change that into an opportunity to grow. So those with a growth mindset dedicate themselves to learning and make space for creative expansion, allowing themselves to grow at every single opportunity. Perhaps now we can launch the second question, the second poll. Helen?
Yes, I've launched it.
Okay. So this is for you to give me an indication about your skills and if it's going to be outdated by 2025 with, you know, the technological advances that are going to take place. So we've seen that 43% changes are okay. So 48% said that their skills will be outdated by 2025. 17% said that yes, their skills will be outdated by 2025, and 34% said no. So for those 34%, can you give us an indication of some of the skills that you have? Can we see some of these skills? So great. It's good to note that 55% said that their skills will be outdated by 2025. And taking a look at these top skills, which according to the World Economic Forum are the top skills in 2015, 2020, and 2030. And we noticed that some of these skills are really have been changing in terms of priority. So while complex problem solving, coordinating with others, and people management, critical thinking have been the top skills for 2015, in 2030, we see that judgment and decision-making, fluency of ideas, active learning, originality or creativity, these are the top skills that people should focus on. And the good thing about all these skills is that skills can be developed and can be learned. So there isn't really a skill that one possesses that is just fixed. Everything or every single skill can be developed if you apply certain strategies. So let's move on to talk about these skills. Okay. So first and foremost, flexibility and adaptability. And for those of you who have done the MBA program, really know what I'm talking about. So flexibility is really your ability to adapt and work effectively within a variety of situations and with various individuals and groups. It's understanding and appreciating different and opposing perspectives on an issue and adapting one's perspective to these situations as they change in the workplace. Adaptability is really your capacity to be able to initiate and welcome change and to adapt to it quickly, and especially in working conditions. So adaptability really and flexibility are one of the prize skills, and it has to do with your ability to deal with change, especially during these times when we go through turbulent times, uncertain times. How do you deal with change? So people mostly would need to focus on change, expect it, adapt to it, survive it, and embrace it. And I'd like to give you an example here. So consider the telephone when it was invented in 1876. It took approximately 75 years for the landline usage to reach 50 million users. And this is because it took a long time for the necessary infrastructure to be installed. By contrast, if we take a look at the game Pokemon Go, it reached 50 million users in 19 days only. And this is because the game was built on top of other exponential technologies like the mobile phone, the internet, and the augmented reality. So we're at a point that tech-driven innovation is racing ahead of our own ability to adapt. So if we don't act quick, we have to keep up with these rapid innovations. And there are certain things that we can do. So first and foremost, we need to engage proactively with what's going on. So we need to understand what's going on, not only in our field, but with the world more broadly. So stay interested in technological advances and developments, ideas, and fresh perspectives. Next is when you feel that winds of change are blowing, learn to embrace them. It's about identifying opportunities with change rather than really dwelling on the negatives and the negatives that come with change. And lastly, try to let go of anything that is holding you back, whether it's the fear of the future, whether it's the fear of something new because you're so invested in your old ways. So try to let go and adopt an expansive mindset. The next skill is really active learning. We can't be really sure what the future holds for us, but if it's anything like the present, it's full of disruption and change. So we need to upgrade our knowledge as frequently as we upgrade our devices. And during the pandemic, we've seen that professionals and organizations have all waken up to the fact that everything can change overnight. And with this change comes the demand for different skills. So upskilling should have moved up your priority list, and therefore every one of you should think about learning something new, adapting your skills, and allowing yourself to grow. And you can do this by, first of all, identifying what you need, the gaps that you have in your knowledge. So if you notice that you don't know about fintech, and fintech is the thing now to talk about, go and search it up. There are so many things that you can do to learn about fintech. You can log into short courses like the MOOCs, which are provided by MOOCs are massive open online courses, and these are short online courses provided by many educational institutions such as FutureLearn, Coursera, Udemy, etc., and others. And these are free online courses or with minimal cost and would allow you to learn more and to understand more about other skills. So be interested in things that you don't know about, not only things that are related to your field. Also, it could be really interesting if you want to invest in your future to do a postgraduate degree like an MBA or a master's program. And today I want to talk a little bit about the MBA because it has most of these essential skills. When you do an MBA, you are equipped with, it gives you, you learn how to do judgment and decision making, to think strategically, to think critically. It's just, it gives you, it embraces a lot of skills like teamwork, collaboration, diversity, getting out of your comfort zone. All these are skills that future employers will be looking for. So invest in yourself and invest in the future. And when you do an interview, you can tell your employer that I've been investing in yourself, and this shows your level of commitment to grow and to develop yourself. So stay interested in whatever technological advances are happening. Stay interested with the most and latest trends, cutting edge trends, and whatever industry that you feel that it's coming up with. And lastly, try to commit to a schedule of learning. So dedicate a few hours a week dedicate a few hours, maybe a day or two to learn. I'm not asking you to give up Netflix. I'm not asking you to give up the things that are not of that you like to do, but it's just what I'm asking you to do is to dedicate a few hours just to learn something new every week. Next is emotional intelligence, and this is one of the skills that I really, really appreciate, and it's appreciated not only in leaders, but in everyone. And I'm going to dedicate an entire webinar next month to talk about emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence, according to Daniel Goldman, who has written many books about emotional intelligence, it is really the capacity for recognizing our own feelings and those of others, for motivating ourselves and for managing emotions well in ourselves and in our relationships. It's about empathy. It's about putting ourselves out there and trying to understand people from different perspectives, and for managing these relationships. And this skill is essential for every single leader and individual altogether. Next skill is problem solving. So problem solving is a superpower. Who doesn't want a problem solver? And that is, it's a highly valued by organizations and businesses altogether, as it makes things happen. And we've all experienced on firsthand how things don't go according to plan. None of us had predicted that 2020 would turn out the way that it has so far. And with a rapidly changing world of work comes the demand for people who are able to quickly adapt and quickly come up with solutions to problems efficiently and effectively. So problem solving is a skill, and it can be developed for anyone who thinks that he's not a good problem solver, here are some techniques that you can do in order to enhance your problem solving techniques. So the first thing, when you're faced with a problem, we find people focusing more on the problem, what caused the problem, who caused the problem, rather than shifting their mindset into the solution. So one of the things is acknowledge the problem, and then try to adopt a mindset of solution-focused mindset. Try to find solutions to the problem rather than dwelling on only what went wrong and what is the problem. Next is adopt a difference mindset. And this is really important, to adopt a difference mindset in all your interactions, meaning to interrogate every single interaction or decision that you come up with. And it's quite useful here to adopt the 5 whys problem solving framework. So if you're faced with a problem and you want to solve that problem, you come up with a solution. So let's say the problem is, I get late to work every single day. So the question would be, why am I getting late to work? So the answer is because I wake up late. So why am I waking up late? It's because I sleep late. Why am I sleeping late? It's because I'm drinking coffee. Why am I drinking coffee? It's because I'm tired. So drill it down using the 5 whys until you really get to the root of the problem. And this helps really with complacency as well. So always try to interrogate yourself, ask yourself the 5 whys, or ask yourself questions to narrow down and to reach to the root of the problem. Problem solving thrives on diversity, and this is really important because quite often we find people surrounding themselves with people who think like them. So when we are all thinking alike and we're faced with a problem, we're most likely going to come to a consensus, which is a usual one that we come up with quite often, and for half of the time it's going to be wrong. So whenever you have a problem, try to surround yourself with a group who comes from different backgrounds, different takes, different diverse on several levels, and therefore when you do that, you get to listen to takes from different perspectives and approach different answers or solutions to the problem. What's quite useful is also to think laterally about the problem. So quite often we find ourselves also focusing on one direction and getting in the habit of thinking about solutions in the same way. So what you need to do is try to look at the problem from different perspectives, sideways. And this is also an advice that I give in career. You can't always look up vertically. Sometimes you have to make side moves in order to get to the next level. So try to think about side or lateral moves when you're faced with a problem, to come up with solutions differently and challenge every answer that you come up with. Here, it's quite useful to think about the language of possibilities, asking yourself questions such as, what if? Or imagine if. And it's really useful to use this kind of language because it allows the brain to think creatively and encourages solutions. So sometimes when you use this language, it opens up new possibilities. Another useful technique is to visualize the problem. So draw a simple picture diagram where it can help you visualize the problem. So when you look at it, you're seeing it from a different perspective, and do not keep it in your head. So looking at it written or drawn in a diagram can help you really envision different solutions to that problem. And last but not least, I think that nurturing a working environment that prioritizes psychological safety is really important. When we're faced with a problem, you know, it's really important, along with diversity, that working in an environment where you feel that you're able to express yourself freely, that you are able to speak up your mind, that without being judged, without being ridiculed, it allows you to become more creative, to think freely, to express yourself better, to come up with better solutions. So diversity and psychological safety are really important for problem solving, and to allow us to, think creatively about these problems and to become effective problem solvers. The next skill is creativity. And creativity is one of the top prized skills. Creativity is of particular interest, given that it's a way of thinking. And the underlying themes that enable creativity to flourish is open-mindedness, its curiosity, its tolerance, and its diversity. Creativity is one of the things that really differentiates us from machines, and for now at least. So what you need to do is to help develop that creative side of you. And no matter what, if you think that you're creative or not, we are all creative, and we all have a creative side to ourselves. So what we need to do is to enable that creativity to flourish and to grow. And according to Professor Mark Beatty, with whom I've done the course Creativity and Innovation Essentials, he teaches at the University of Manchester, and he's a leader in creativity and innovation and leadership. So according to Mark Beatty, you can, encourage that creative side of you and encourage it. You do that by getting the fluency of ideas. So fluency of ideas, we've seen that as one of the top skills in 2030. Fluency of ideas is your ability to come up with infinite number of ideas. We're not judging the ideas, all kinds of ideas, good, bad. So celebrate all these ideas and write them down. Even if you think it's the silliest idea, to a solution. So let's say you want to build a house, but you need a green stick. It has nothing to do with it maybe, but all ideas are going to be welcome, and all ideas are going to be celebrated because it opens the door to a better one. Next thing to flourish creativity is really to have these brainstorming sessions in all your meetings, your plannings, and your strategy routines, because when you are in brainstorming session with a group of diverse people, you're all going to come up with different ideas, and you're going to bounce off these different ideas to come up with creative ones. So brainstorming sessions are really valuable when you want to help that creative side of you to flourish. It's also useful to start to do unfamiliar things. And doing unfamiliar things is pushing yourself to get out of your comfort zone. And this is called forced adaptation. When it comes to developing that part of the brain which is responsible for creativity, you need to do unfamiliar things. And that kind of doing the unfamiliar things, that kind of thing, is really something that has been adopted by some of the greatest geniuses in history. So, for example, we know that composer Igor Stravinsky would stand on his head every morning for 15 minutes. And this helped him to get his creative juices to come out. The inventor and founding father, Benjamin Franklin, thought that he was most creative when he was cold, hungry, and naked. So do unfamiliar things, challenge yourself, change your routines quite often to just when you feel that you're stuck and you want to get your fluid creative juices coming up. Next thing is try to visualize your goal. So when you envision your end goal, your brain neural pathways light up as if you're really actually doing that thing. So when you imagine that you're giving a speech in front of hundreds of people or thousands of people, when you envision it, you're halfway there. So when you imagine visualization, when you imagine and you allow your brain to visualize, it prepares it for the real work. So visualization really can help you. And finally, emotional regulation. We live in a world with so many distracting stimuli around us, with our phones ringing, notifications, emails, Zoom calls, everything. We need to calm in order to focus our creativity. You need to find that time of the day or that time of the week to just calm down and do whatever it takes, whether it's just meditation, whether it's clearing that mind in your space, whether it's prayer, whether it's mindfulness, whether it's taking a stroll on the beach, whatever it is really important to calm your brain and to calm your thoughts in order to be able to get creative. So you learn new things every single day, and you are creative, and you are a problem solver, and you adapt quickly to changes. But all these soft skills get lost if you're unable to communicate them and to demonstrate them successfully to others. So, such as, let's say you are going for an interview with an employer, stating that you're adaptable to change isn't enough. So you will need to have strong communication skills to illustrate how adaptable have you been and provide examples to really communicate how you were adaptable. So employers favor job seekers who are able to communicate effectively and efficiently with local and outside stakeholders. So it's worth acknowledging also that communication has now changed. So pre-crisis world communications or interactions was face-to-face, and now we see more of remote or communications that are happening over remotely or virtually. So with these, with this kind of word, it's even going to be harder for us to communicate with people. So you need to put extra effort in your communication skills and to be able to make sure that your idea or content and the message that you're trying to deliver is getting there efficiently and effectively, and that your message is not being lost or transformed along the way. And so it's really important to pay attention to your communication style, whether it's the words, the tone, the voice, the body language, and be mindful when you are communicating with other people. Virtually takes more effort than face-to-face. Teamwork and collaboration is also really valued and is valued now and will be valued by future employers and for the future. So make sure that when you're collaborating and you're working with a team, you're able to give and receive feedback, you're sharing credit for all the work that you have done together, you're able to acknowledge other skills and contributions, and to listen and acknowledge feelings, opinions of others, especially in conflict situations, and try to state your personal opinions in a tactful way and in a respectable way. So This is really important, to show respect, to show collaboration, to show understanding, and to support one another, even at times of conflict. And here I would recommend that you read the book, How to Win Friends and How to Influence People by Dale Carnegie. It's really useful in that sense. And last but not least, I would like to talk about the leadership for the future. The workplaces of the future demand a new kind of leadership, as many of us will be working flexibly and remotely, dealing with ever more complex technology and information. Leaders of the future need to be more dynamic, they need to be more involved, and they need to be accommodating. So the leaders of the future would need to demonstrate certain skills. So they need to lead and educate by example. They need to be more transparent. They need to share knowledge. They need to be able to provide feedback for everyone. And these leaders were going to be different. They're going to be just as involved in learning as their employees are. So they will be involved in technology, they will be learning as much as all their employees and co-workers are. Leaders of the future are going to be mobilizers. So with more complex problems and complex processes and technology all over, they should be able to mobilize large numbers of people collectively to solve problems. And finally, the leaders of the future are going to be different in the sense that they're going to help others grow. They're going to be givers. And the best example of this is the CEO of Google, Sundar Pichai. He is known to be a selfless, soft-spoken, friendly and warm and a great collaborator. And these are not attributes that are really immediately would associate with someone in his position. So his approach really pays off for him and for Google, which is known as a company for a giving culture, a culture, giving culture where people, thrive together, where there is high efficiency, where there is profitability, and where there is customer satisfaction. So the future is unknown, but preparing for it, having the leadership that will going to lead the future of works, and you investing in yourself and in these soft skills are just something that is not to think about anymore. It's something that you need to engage with now and to start immediately. So whether it's learning, whether it's having that creative side of you, whether it's problem solving, no matter what it is, no matter what gap you feel that you have in your skill, try to access it, try to change it, and try to work on it. And after talking about all these skills, we'd like to launch the last poll question before we move on to the question section.
Of course.
So what is your self-perceived proficiency in the skills of the future? So for now, I can see that 100% said they would need to acquire new skills. That's wonderful. 8% said that they are already proficient. It's quite interesting to see how these numbers are changing. And it's good to know that only 4% said that it's not necessary for them to acquire these new skills. May I know in which industries do you work and what skills do you have currently? You can type them in the question section. So 90% said that they would need to acquire new skills. 6% they're already proficient, and 3% it's not necessary for them to acquire new skills. Interesting. Very interesting. So we move to the question.
Yes, hi there, Hiba.
Hi, Helen.
Yes, we have some questions. So the first question is from Bassam Asaf, and he is asking, in construction, what are the needed steps to prepare for the future?
Right. So in every single profession, we would see that technology is going to be incorporated. So in construction, there will be rising demands for technological advances. So try to equip yourself with knowing what is it needed really in construction. So I know that technology is coming. Technology is overtaking everything. So we know that in fields such as construction, such as the green energy, we would need more to focus on technology, technological advances, technological breakthroughs. Construction is going to be more focused on virtual reality, and then before really implementing that work. So some of the top growing industries, and it's quite interesting to note that post-pandemic, we will see some industries which are thriving, and some of these industries would be the collaboration technologies. So we would see the Zoom and the video conferencing, voice over IP, and all these are going to be installed. It's going to be applicable for every single industry, including construction. I see that Bassam has left. So another question is saying that what are the top industries to consider jobs in? So as I said, it's the top industries would be collaboration technologies. So Zoom, video conferencing, voice over IP. We know that, quite interesting, it's a healthcare field, whether it's physical, whether it's whatever needed in the healthcare field. It's the doctors, it's the nurses, it's the technicians, it's the biotech companies, the chemists, the protein engineers. We live in a world where there will be a rising demand for cutting-edge technologies in medicine and in treatments. So it's quite interesting to know how these are shifting. Also, we see that there will be rise for industries such as the green industries, solar power and wind power. There will be also rising demand for online gaming. Quite interesting. So we've seen that even during the pandemic, online gaming was on the boom. And in China only, during the pandemic, over one night, people spent over $280 million on one game, and this shows the immense, investing in online gaming. So online gaming platforms will look for more programmers, coders, virtual reality. All this is going to be our future. Also, we will see e-commerce. E-commerce is going to be booming in the future. So we will see jobs such as web developers, buyers, sales, marketing, software developers, and solution architects. All these are going to be on the rise. So we see other questions.
Yes, Hiba. Daniel is asking if you can please share the name of the book and the author that you mentioned.
Yes, so it's How to Win People and How to Influence and Win People. This is by Dale Carnegie. It's quite interesting. It's a very good book, and I would recommend that everyone would read it. And this session is recorded, so for all of you who have registered today would receive a recorded session.
And Hiba, also would the presentations be able to be shared?
As I said, the session is recorded and it will have the presentation, so that will be sent to you.
Thank you, Hiba. I believe that's all the questions at the moment. If anyone has more questions, please, you can enter them in the questions box.
So the fastest growing jobs, I know that's everybody's question. What are the fastest growing jobs over the next decade? we will see, like I said, web developers, software developers, solar panel installers for green energy, healthcare professionals. So healthcare professionals is on the rise, physically and mentally, like I said. We will need leaders with decision making, also jobs that request or require decision making, emotional intelligence, strategic thinking, collaboration. These jobs will never cease to exist. Also, service providers like education. We will see that education services are going to be on the rise in the future as well. Financial advisors.
Yes,
information security. Yes.
Yeah, we have a couple of good. Yeah, sorry, we have a couple of good questions here. One is from Tariq Shawa, and he's saying it's inevitable that labor-intensive jobs will eventually be the first to be replaced by machines, computers, etc. My question is how jobs such as consultancy, management, etc. will be replaced, and if so, what is required to be ready in your career in such jobs?
Right, so thank you, Tariq, for this question. I think consultancy is not going to be replaced in any of the future, because, and if it was to be replaced, you need to focus on the skills that we've talked about. So these professional services and consultancy will be needed, but the way that it's going to adapt is perhaps it's going to be less of face-to-face interactions. It's going to be more virtual. It's going to depend on technologies. So equipping yourself and knowing the systems that are going to be implemented before they really are implemented. So getting that knowledge and getting the breakthroughs to these technologies before they happen is what you need to do. So you have an MBA, you've got the skills, you've got critical thinking, you've got judgment, decision making, you've got strategic thinking. So all these are skills that is going to equip you with whatever needed. But for professional services, for consultancy and management, these are jobs that are not going to disappear in the future. These are jobs that are going to still be available, but will be also augmented by technological advances. So what you need to do, if in the future these companies try to use softwares or try to use technological tools in order to better their productivity, you need to equip yourself with these tools, and you need to stay ahead of these technological advances to try to understand what's happening in your field and to stay abreast of them. So, like I said, these fields, there will be technological advances everywhere, and there will be some jobs that are going to be replaced, but these are going to be, the jobs are most likely the machine worker, the telecommunicator, the cashier, the taxi driver, maybe the assistants, the secretaries in the offices, as these are going to be more automated. So what we need to do is to prepare, is to keep abreast of these technological advances and to learn these tools. Nobody has an excuse anymore to say, I don't know how to run a webinar, I don't know how to do a video conference Zoom, I don't know how to operate CRM or to know about the ERP systems. We all need to keep abreast of these technological advances if we want to stay ahead of ourselves and of the future. So stay invested in technology, learn and adopt change as quickly as possible. That will be your golden ticket for the future. I hope I answered your question, Tariq.
Thank you, Hiba. There is a question from Jai. He's asking, what happens to traditional jobs like finance?
Yes, financial advisors are still going to be in need, luckily, in the coming future, but there will be also systems that is going to somehow be able, or algorithms that is going to be able to provide financial advice. So what you need to do is also, again, try to learn these technologies, try to stay abreast of these developments. Financial advising, this is something that it has that human element. It has that critical thinking. It has that analysis that most probably is not going to be replaced by machines. So what you need to do is augment your skills and stay abreast of the developments. But financial advisors are still going to be needed for the future, and at least up to 2030.
Thank you very much, Hiba. There's also a question from Natalia. She's asking, is the MBA really worth it?
I mean, I'm biased towards the MBA. I say it's really worth it. The MBA gives you all these skills that are not going to be replaced anytime in the future. As I said, an MBA equips you, and I'm talking about Manchester MBA, it equips you with critical thinking, strategic thinking, judgment, decision-making, problem-solving, teamwork, originality, diversity. All these are skills that are needed for the future. And depending on where your career is going, doing an MBA is most likely, I mean, it has been the answer for many people who have been on our MBA program, and perhaps somebody should answer this question from our alumni. But an MBA is definitely the fastest tool to fast track your career, to change your career, and to change your industry altogether if this is what you want to do.
Thank you, Hiba. And we have a question from Salim. What do you think of large companies dealing with change? Would you agree being big might be a problem?
Which kind of companies? What do you think of large companies?
Large companies, yes.
Yes. So companies who are not going to keep abreast of these developments are most likely going to disappear. I mean, we've seen really major retail. We know the retail industry. We've seen many big stores and companies closing as we shifted into e-commerce. So if these companies, large companies, are not going to deal with change and are not going, and if leadership is not going to make the change, is not going to be involved with their people, is not going to advance themselves, then most likely these companies are going to do well. And we see that in the future there will be lots of large companies that are going to disappear, and it's going to be replaced by small businesses, it's going to be replaced by gig economy, and this is the future. So for these large companies to keep abreast of what's happening, to stay involved, to change, possibly to adopt some changes. So it's something that is really essential. And I want to give an example here is about education. Education was traditionally that full-time program that you need to go to a university, attend courses face-to-face every single day, and that's the only way we learn. And now these things have changed. Programs are become hybrid, programs are become online, and the universities or education providers who are not keeping abreast of these changes are most likely going to lose a huge percentage of people who want to learn. As we move in the world, people want more flexibility, want more adaptability, want to do things which would allow them to have more time at their own. So companies, service providers, education providers, all these are going to make changes and shifts in order to stay abreast of and in order to stay ahead of these changes.
Thank you very much, Hiba. Our alumni Tariq Shawa has, he would just like to share how the MBA has actually transformed his way of thinking and enabled him to acquire new skills. So Tariq, thank you so much for sharing this.
So this is a confirmation from one of our alumni that an MBA really can change the way you think and help you look at things from a different perspective. In the end, what you really want to do is challenge yourself, challenge your way of thinking, get critical thinking skills that are going to be needed for the future. And so all these new skills that are that MBA can really help you do and can prepare you for the future of work. because the skills that everybody would still need a decision maker, everybody would still need someone who would solve problems and who would think strategically about decisions and solutions. So all these are essential tools of the MBA program.
Thank you very much, Hiba. There are no further questions. I believe we still have a few minutes. If anyone has any last questions.
So don't worry, I just want to reassure you again that there will be lots for everyone to do in the future. There will be jobs in the future, and even now, post-pandemic, the market has slightly started to shift and to change. We see people are, have started to move into employment. So things are changing, and things are likely going to even change for the better in the future. So all you need to do is prepare to stay relevant, to stay abreast of all these technological changes. And if we have any young people here that have not really ventured into a job or ventured into studies, some of the very, very interesting fields that people should invest more time and energy and studies in the future are arts and science, education, business, and medicine. And these are the fields that people should be focusing more on in the future. And as I said, the fastest growing industries are going to be collaboration technologies, is going to be green energy, whether it's solar, whether it's wind power, and we're going to be needing all sorts of technical engineers, civil, mechanical, chemical, risk management, project managers. Maybe the type of employment is going to shift, so there will be no more long contracts or unlimited time frame contracts. There will be more short-term contracts, and this is part of the new gig and part of the new economy. So it's okay. The world is changing, and so is the terms and the modes of employment and of contracts. So, so for everyone there, thank you all for your questions. Stay relevant, keep learning, and I'll see you soon next month when we talk about emotional intelligence. So thank you all again. The session is recorded and will be shared with everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you again, and have a great evening, everyone. Goodbye.